Zamfara chapter of the All Progressive Congress says it will resist any attempt to witch hunt the suspended members of the State House of Assembly. This is contained in a statement issued in Gusau on Sunday by the State APC Publicity Secretary, Malam Yusuf Idris. ATM recalls that 9 lawmakers were suspended by the House since February 2024 over an alleged violation of the Assembly rules. ATN also reports that the development had led to the factionalization of the Assembly, with a 13-member faction headed by Bilyaminu Moriki, PDP Zomi South, as Speaker. The other faction comprises 10 members under the headship of Bashar Aliyu, PDP Gummi 1. Idris said that the Zamfara APC chapter has found it disturbing and embarrassing how the constitutionally elected lawmakers were blocked from performing their legislative functions. We are therefore calling on the state government to invite the 2 factions of the Assembly for reconciliation in order to resolve the crisis and to move forward, he said. Idris maintained that APC would continue to be on the right side of the law and would not want constitutional matters to be politicized and used against public interests. He said that the party would resist any attempts to witch hunt the members just for voicing out their views on the security situation in their various constituencies. Meanwhile, the Speaker, Bilyaminu Moriki, while reacting to the matter, described the declaration of a parallel assembly by the suspended lawmakers as uncalled for. You know, we have issues with some lawmakers who were suspended by the House since last year over the alleged violation of the Assembly rules. As I am speaking with you now, the matter of their suspension is before the court. Therefore, the action they took is illegal, null and void, Moriki said. He said that the Assembly remained the only legitimate legislative body authorized by law to carry out legislative duties in the state. What do you make of this story? But I want to take a look at the length of time. 1, suspending elected lawmakers, fellow lawmakers, suspending because, the Speaker is just first among equals, right? This action of lawmakers suspending fellow lawmakers, I'm talking about from River State to National Assembly, House of Assembly everywhere. Is it lawful? Now, number 2, I am aware that there have been judgments going before, and in one of those judgments, it was categorically stated that while it's unlawful, a suspended lawmaker cannot be suspended beyond, I think, 14 days. Correct? So what is going on that in Zamfara State, lawmakers have been suspended since April 2024, that is over 1 year, denying their constituencies legislative functions?
Thank you very much. You see, we have had a conflict of laws in Nigeria, and that is where the National Assembly in its entirety should look at regularizing some of these laws. There is no way the rules of a House of Assembly will supersede the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Section 1 talks about the supremacy of the Constitution and that it will have binding effects on all authorities and persons. So how come the rules of Zamfara House of Assembly will now, be superior to the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria? A lawmaker in Nigeria can't be suspended beyond 2 weeks, which is the 14 days. The Supreme Court have given a voice to that. We saw what happened in the National Assembly recently. Now Zamfara is also on the news. I wonder where these people are deriving these powers. That is clear abuse of office. And people should rise up to occasion and challenge all this in court, so that there will be clearly defined routes of lawmaking in Nigeria. How do you suspend a lawmaker who is elected by constituencies to represent them? When you suspend them, you are invariably denying the constituents of benefits denying the constituents of lawful representation in the assembly. So what that assembly speaker have done is abuse of office, and I believe that at the end of the judgment, the court will hit his head. Now,
still looking at this, right, the constituents in this instance, you know, when issues like this happen, I ask a lot of questions, and it beats me hollow. Is it that constituents don't know their rights? Or is it that these lawmakers in the first instance do not even understand the extent of the powers they wield? Now, this is a situation where 9 lawmakers were suspended. You're talking of 9 constituents, 9 constituencies suspended. This is where that right to protest comes in, where the constituents will come together in one voice. When they say, call back our people, the pressure, the House of this, no House of Assembly can withstand that. It's different if it is just one constituency that is protesting, or just 2 or 3. But in a situation where 9 come together and demand representation, and telling the lawmakers that we did not recall these people, they are not recalled. You suspended them beyond what has been given by the Supreme Court. So why the continual suspension? Right. Secondly, Zamfara State House of Assembly. Now, there is tussle around the 2025 budget in Zamfara State House of Assembly, with these suspended lawmakers that have formed a parallel assembly demanding for budget to be submitted to them. Because it makes sense to me how 9 constituencies are denied representation and a voice in Zamfara State appropriation bill. Ndamzi.
Laurentia, you see, I said it emphatically before that Nigerians need proper, lawful education. This will be an avenue for us to canvass that from the kindergarten stage, there should be public enlightenment. Students should be taught about our laws. Some of the House of Assembly members don't even know what the Constitution says. How many of them moves motion in the House? What do they know to say? They know nothing about the law. They know nothing about the lawmaking process. So many of them are so adamant. So many don't even care. We watch them sometimes, you see some sleeping while the lawful business is going on in the House. So Nigerians need proper education when it has to do with things like this. You cannot suspend a House of Assembly member. You have to talk of 9 constituencies. That is to say, you want to shut down the state. If you suspend 9 constituencies, who will make the law for the state? You are invariably saying you want Zamfara to plunge into crisis. You want lawlessness. You want anarchy to prevail. And in a state of lawlessness at that point, it is unlawful to be law-abiding. That is a lawful principle. So this is so worrisome that I at times also I blame the Nigerian police. Yes, of course. Section 4 gives them the power to maintain law and order throughout Federal Republic of Nigeria. And abuse of office, the Criminal Code Act as applicable in the southern Nigeria and the Penal Code Act as applicable in the north criminalizes abuse of office. So what is our security agencies doing when these people, when they find themselves in position of trust, they see themselves as demigod? No, it shouldn't be so. The laws are bigger than them. The security agencies should move in and arrest the speaker and arrest the factional members. It is within the lawful right of the police to do. Arrest all the members of the House of Assembly. They don't have immunity. Arrest them, prosecute them for abuse of office, for violating the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. But we will not see the police do that. Go out the road now, you see them harassing motorists. That's all we see in Nigeria happening. So it is so painful. I am so pained to my heart that Nigerian police force, with all the powers, with our guns, with our resources, our taxpayers' resources, they cannot even do the right thing. It is proper. Abuse of office, like I said, is a criminal offense. The police should move in and investigate what is happening in Zamfara. They have the powers to do.
Okay, very well. Now let's look at another perspective to this whole Zamfara parallel assembly crisis. Very quickly, what is the minimum constitutional composition for a state house of assembly? The minimum seats, 24, yes?
24.
And the maximum is 40, like you find in Kano State.
Yes.
Now, so far, what would question the legitimacy of the functions, the laws, the bills that have been passed by these lawmakers so far? Now, there are two factions, and from what I gather, the first faction that is headed by Moriki has 13 speakers, 13 members. The one headed by Moriki has 13 members. And then this other one that is headed by Bashar Aliyu comprises of 10 members, which means both factions cannot constitutionally, they can come together for plenary, but they cannot legislate when they can't form a quorum. It means that the one headed by Moriki, that has the authentic speaker right now, does not form a quorum. They do not form that minimum seat as prescribed by the Constitution for them to have legitimacy to legislate. The other faction, of course, is even lesser in number. They are 10. And so now, this suspension happened since February 2024. How did the state governor pass a budget with a House of Assembly that did not meet the requirement, or has the budget not been passed? How is the state governor ruling the states, spending monies, making appointments, and all that with 13-member House of Assembly that is against the constitutional requirement of 24? Ndamzi.
Laurentia, Nigerians, I believe we are listening. These politicians are taking us for a ride. I mean, when they find themselves in that seat of power, they look down on everybody. And it's high time we rose up to task and say no to all these unconstitutional behaviors of our political leaders. Section 76, sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution talks about quorum of a House of Assembly. It has to be 2/3 majority of the members of the House of Assembly present and voting. Anything less than that, any law, whether appropriation law or any law whatsoever they have made since then, are all unconstitutional. Nigerians should wake up and ask the right questions, not to channel energy on inconsequential things, not to be social media errand boys. Nigerians, stop being data boys. You sit in your comfort zone, you tweet what you don't even know about. You see some of them writing gibberish on social media. And when I see such things, I can tell you that I just look at the heading and I pass, because I can't be aligned with Lilliputians and Nicompos posting what they don't even know. The next time you see when the court give a judgment, they'll say, oh, the court have taken bribe, that judge is corrupt, without taking recourse to what the law says. The governor will sit there in his comfort zone and feel he has become a demigod. But you will see him now, 2027. You see him sharing bags of rice. You see him dispensing cash. And the gullible Zamfarians will fall for it, and they will re-elect them again. Nigerians need to be wiser, because 2027 is around the corner, and they are regrouping again. They are regrouping again to deceive Nigerians. But I tell them for free that I can never be deceived, because I know what they are doing.
Right,
they are not honest. to the rules of engagement. They are not.
Now given the constitutional provision that it has to be two-third majority.
Two-third majority.
So in essence, it has to be two-third majority of 24. 24 being the list.
Yes, of course.
So two-third majority of 24 is 16. Am I correct?
At least minimum of 16.
Minimum of 16, because that's the two-third majority.
Form the quorum.
24 divided by 3 will give you 8. So 8 plus 8
is 16.
Is 16. So
16
two-third
is the
majority
minimum.
Is the minimum that can constitute a quorum.
A quorum
for a House of Assembly in Nigeria to sit. And in the case of Zamfara State, what we are seeing is 13 member of House of Assembly that doesn't meet the required constitutional provision of two-third majority, which is at least minimum of 16-man quorum.
That's true.
So I think if you're from Zamfara and you're listening, then I hope you get to understand.
They have the right to march to their House of Assembly and ask that the right thing be done.
Well, like I said, the constituents, where are they?
Yes, of course.
Constituents. The 9 constituencies have been denied representation.
That's more than that's close to half of the state.
24 February.
That's half of the state.
And I mean, how is Zamfara? Well, moving on.
There are two sets of people: the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacle, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need is not about the country. Who can come and salvage us from where we